one of these matchups that you were super excited to see and I'm super excited to see. I think this is the premier matchup in CC right now.
Two most represented heroes on day one, two most represented heroes on day two. Now they swapped positions. Oldham's all over the top tables. I would say I would define this as a sledge-heavy metagame. A lot of sledges.
You and I were joking about this. I was like, I don't know if I've ever seen sledge this much in my life because they're using that a lot in the mirrors.
Look at this turn one from Jacob.
This is the big thing we're going to talk about. This isn't the matchup the way you would think about it as early as, say, like a month ago. We were like, yeah, Oldham's going to block out, Fi's going to attack a bunch. That's not what's happening. Oldham is trying to beat you up in these matchups now. And you see this with an attack for 10 that is dominated on turn one. Not only is this going to push a ton of damage, it's going to keep away some of those cards from Spencer Freeman as well if he wanted to just get some free blocks in.
Yeah, not going to happen. Only going to be able to put one card in front and actually puts a belittle in front. So going to take a little bit of extra damage here. Only a 2-block, 8 damage headed through to Spencer Freeman on turn one. Nothing you can do about that. That's the dream start for Oldham's. And if you ever did that back in the Tales of Aria limited days where you just got to lead with your Glacial Footsteps on turn one, no better feeling in the world.
Yeah, and so this is going to be an interesting spot, too, because, now Spencer needs to be starting to push damage because he's actually pretty far behind already, and he knows that Oldham's going to be pushing a bunch of damage. And we see that he does have the Belittle Minnowism package in his decks, and he's also playing Ember Blade. This is another point of contention is what weapon or weapons are you using with Fi here?
Yeah, and Mask of the Pouncing Lynx as well from Spencer. So Fi has very much evolved to be a little bit more Kodachi focus, a little bit more Mask of Momentum focus. Spencer says no. Spencer's kind of doing it the old way, looking to get in with Mask of the Pouncing Lynx instead. Powerful equipment, by the way.
Yeah, and I was going to say, this is a slightly good and unfortunate draw at the same time for Spencer here. A card that is so important in this matchup for him is Art of War.
Yeah.
This is a card that can really push through a lot of damage in the mid to late game against Jacob when he's actually trying to, do some blockouts, because there are turns where Fi is going to present a big turn and be like, you need to block everything that I do this turn, or I'm going to have some huge turn Mask of the Pouncing Lynx, like you were mentioning. And when I say mid-game, I mean turn 3 in this matchup now, not turn 7 like it used to be.
That's as far as we go.
But drawing 2 Art of Wars here this early, one of them is going to be used for resources to cast the other one, but now you don't have the Art of War to draw anymore, and you want to make sure, this is kind of like Chain was back in the day, where you want to draw your Art of Wars and play them as the game goes on.
No, absolutely. And we did get a redraw here from that Art of War. Also, Art of War obviously combines very well with that double strike. Going to banish that one, be ready to go later on in the turn. Looks like we're already firing it off. I think that's our second copy of the double strike. Oh, no, that's representing the previous copy. Now our second copy of the double strike coming through.
I've seen some creative ways on how to do this. Now, this one's actually going to attack for 3. It's going to be buffed by the Art of War and the equipment as well here.
Yeah, Tiger Stripe Shuko going to go ahead and pump that one up.
Using the whole Buffalo here this turn.
Of course, that prevention clause could be important in this matchup. Crown of Seeds, one of Oldham's best tools.
Yeah, I think this is one of the matchups where you do actually see this come up. It doesn't happen too often in CC, but this is an interaction that could possibly happen in this matchup. That's a good call by you.
Ooh, how about another double strike? So
is this a quadruple strike?
Yeah, quadruple strike happening, getting very wide on this turn.
We got the Ushka look from Jacob there.
It is a wide combat chain. The damage output, not so scary thus far. All very small attacks. Jacob finding a good block on the lone 3-power attack thus far.
And this can be scary from Jacob as well. You're kind of incentivized to do some blocking here because you do see that Mask of the Pouncing Lynx. If you were to say, hey, I'll shrug this off. I'll keep taking a couple things of 2, and then I'll attack back for a big. Then this could turn into something, say, like Salt the Wound.
Salt the Wound is always the fear here. I mean, obviously that will scale off of how many attacks have hit. There's more double strikes coming. And I think that is the card that Jacob is probably carefully considering at this stage.
Yeah, we have seen some disgusting Salt the Wound turns.
Absolutely. Very interesting setup from Spencer here. Just kind of looking like Fi from maybe a month ago. Energy potions available.
Well, everything's cyclical too. You know what I mean? Like, if you see the Fis move up to a certain way, you're like, well, maybe if we take a step back and do these things, we see these kinds of creative stuff from our opponents, and it's hard to to say if Spencer's right or wrong. I got to say, maybe it's a little more right than anything right now. His record's showing very
looking great so far, is Spencer. And now we're starting to see the advantage Oldham gets from that equipment suite. A lot of resources sunk into equipment. Ironhide legs getting better. Rampart making a block. Crown of Seeds getting in the action. Does have a nice finish here with the Lava Burst to close the chain, does Spencer.
This is one of the more complicated boards I've seen in quite a while as well. Looks like we're going to get a block of 3 and 3 to make it 6 there.
Clean blocks for Jacob. Very little damage getting through on that turn.
And, Jacob was put to a test here. this turn, and he was up to the task. Now, the problem is he's going to lose a decent bit of his equipment. You know, he did have to use a lot of resources and cards out of his hand, but this is the thing you have to be willing to do with Oldhim in this matchup, is you have to be willing to, you know, give your hand away, maybe arsenal and pass from here, and then set up for those big turns later.
Patience is so key for Oldhim players, and this is a totally fine turn. Get that Winner's Wail in there, 4 damage represented. You would love if you had Nice Guard here, but, you know, you'll take the 4 as well. Just go ahead, chip away at Spencer's life total, because put him under threat.
And that's important in this matchup, right? On the Oldhim side, you're not just trying to turtle up, right?
Yeah, you need to go ahead and get your opponents dead. That is basically the new style of Oldhim. They're not all super aggressive, but they always do have one eye on actually reducing your life total. They'll fatigue you if they have to, but that's generally not the game they're trying to play from turn 1.
We're starting out with a Phoenix Flame here.
3 copies of Pummels in Jacob's deck. They're the red ones.
Oh, it's good to see Autumn's touchback, by the way.
Doing a little blocking. Rising Resentment going to be the follow-up attack here.
Another attack for 3 from Spencer. And this is where you see why Oldhim is still able to be able to shift back and forth, is all of their reds that do these big attacks, an attack for 7, attack for 10, they still block for 3.
Look, block 3 is the single most underrated ability in all of Flesh and Blood. The more you can block 3, the better off you are.
And after this block from the Schematic Conqueror, that's going to be an ice ability from Oldhim, putting the last card from Spencer on top of the deck. This is something that you have to keep in mind when you're playing against Oldhim, is they do have that defensive reaction every now and then, and if the ice one comes at the wrong time for you, it could really put a wrench in your plans.
Yeah.
This turn's going to be finished with a 2-power Phoenix Flame.
Yeah, not bad damage output there from the 5 side, given the disruption that was used by Oldhim. Now let's see if this is another hammer turn, if this is just a card in arsenal. Yeah, hammer again. That's the plan here. Defend, hammer, try and come out ahead on pure mathematics.
Yeah, I was wondering if this is a turn that you might consider playing an arsenal because your Tunic's going up to 3. There's a lot of things to consider there. You know, it does give you technically a free Crown of Scenes to possibly go up to a 5-card hand. But Jacob really showing in this matchup he wants to, you know, push damage. And I think it has a lot to do with the fact that he pushed so much on turn 1.
Sure. Yeah, that'll influence the game for sure.
It's also one of the best defenses in this matchup is if you could make the 5-player have to block, I think.
That takes cards out of their hands. Always a give and take when it comes to Flesh and Blood.
Also, are they any good at blocking? Do you know about that?
They'll do what they can. They're not good, but they will find blocks if they have to. A lot of 2s. Obviously, when you go down to the belittle minnowism road, things get even a little bit worse. All of those block for 2, so Art of War around, not blocking all that efficiently. So there are some really big holes in the defensive armor.
Making Matthew Folks proud. We have a belittle attacking for 300. I believe they had a blue minnowism to hand.
That's what it looked like to me.
Yeah, so resource heavy hand here for Spencer this turn. You're probably going to be able to attack a lot of times and add in a weapon attack as well.
Yeah, I see a Snatch in hand, maybe able to get wide and create an arsenal. That's always a big turning point for Fi, is when you connect with that Snatch.
Yeah, definitely want to point out that he has a Snapdragon Scalers down there as well. So, you know, Snatch really a threat when you can give it go again.
Yeah, I think we're looking at Assault to Wound as well. So if Jacob has chosen this turn as one where he just wants to sit back, take a bit of damage, and come back with a clapback, which is possible given the pummel in hand. It does make a block here.
And that's going to be the Spring Tunic as well, resource that's going to block for 1. So if the chain does get broken here, which doesn't happen too often, you will get a free block from the Ram's Head. Ember Blade coming across for 3. You see Jacob really considering this. And I was about to say, he has the double reaction in his hand.
Yeah, Pulse a big swing here, able to prevent 2 damage and take a card out of hand.
Yeah, this is a huge swing in the momentum here for Jacob. It's going to go down to 29 here, but it's going to get one of those cards out of Spencer's hand. That's going to mess up his turn quite a bit here, I have to believe. All right, Fi's going to get active. Phoenix Flame for 2. He's been very good at being able to get the Shuko to activate every turn, which I think is pretty impactful in this matchup.
Absolutely, yeah, and I do think that makes a difference.
You know, I started preparing to do these events in the last month. You know, and I heard Oldhim was going to be very popular. I was like, all right, time to settle in and really get comfortable. And nope, I was way wrong.
Has not been the case. Still playing a pretty robust game is Oldhim. Now facing down that snatch, as we mentioned, could be an important card for sort of turning the corner.
Yeah, and this is going to get blocked by a pummel, and the Crater Fist is going to come out. That's going to be a 4 block. So while the card wasn't got for Spencer there, small win for him there. You really need to start, pushing through this armor because you need to keep the free blocks away.
Absolutely.
From the ultimate player. If they block, you want cards from their hand.
You need to be able to hit your break points. All those things are important, and the armor fights against all of it. And I like that Jacob deployed the armor very early in this matchup. Here's a nice little attack. Looks like it's going to be Enlightened Strike, drawing a card, able to load up that arsenal. I thought I saw a peek at an Okinold there off the draw.
Oof. Yeah, that's going to be just for 5 here because, again, we're selecting draw a card.
Just nice efficiency for Jacob, putting out steady pieces of damage, reducing Spencer's life total.
I mean, Spencer's attacked probably twice as often as Jacob has his turn, and he's got a much lower life total.
Yeah, Jacob able to play good defense.
We have a Red Rising Anger. Attacking for 4. Those breakpoints becoming way more important now. Crater Fist only can block for 1 now. How does Jacob want to block this Mounting Anger?
Looks like Thunderquake, another block 3. As we mentioned, Oldham just loaded with the block 3s, is going to go ahead and put that prevention shield from Oldham to effect as well, pitching So tomorrow.
So he's going to have 1 floating here. It's kind of like we got a Crown of Seeds activation going on.
A little Flame Call Awakening here.
Be still my heart, Brian.
Tannen very happy to see that card doing some work.
I mean, you got to love when they give you a preview card that gets played a lot.
Yes, you
Shout
do.
out to LSS. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it. I remember when I got it, I sent the message back. I was like, oh, boy, y'all gave me a good one.
Yeah, absolutely has proven its worth here.
Especially in a deck like this, right? Like going Find Phoenix Flames out of your deck along with Belittle Minnowism, you have this kind of tutor package going on.
Yeah, you've just expanded the chain dramatically in that spot. Also, resources. The resources can matter quite a bit as well.
Yeah, it just gives more tools to a deck that has, it's so limited and constricted on its resources, and this just gives you that extra little oomph in spots. So this Phoenix Flame's going to come in for 1. The second one's going to come in for 2.
Beautiful Phoenix Flames here from
Oh,
Spencer
absolutely.
Freeman. Tell true 5 fan. Ready to go with the best Phoenix Flames available.
Probably one of my favorite Marvels out of the set.
Yeah, really nice looking. I cracked a Marvel Ash the other day. What a card that is.
Oof. Those are very nice. I've got a couple Phoenix Flames myself. I need to complete the trio, though. A little bit of damage gotten through for Spencer here. Jacob down to 25. Spencer still at 19.
Yeah, importantly, arsenals for both players right now. All right, looks like I read that one wrong. It is going to be a Winter's Bite as the play from Arsenal here.
Yeah, this is going to represent a card from Spencer's hand, one way or the other.
Very annoying. Very, very annoying to play.
I think that's the most apt way I've ever heard Winter's Bite described in my life.
Also annoying, Winter's Wail.
Yeah.
Especially if you pitch an ice card into it that's threatening to Frostbite. That kind of disruption can really put a wrench in Spencer's plans for the next turn. It's just going to take the damage. That means down a card, getting a Frostbite. Exactly what you want to do if you're on the Oldham side. And now that life total starting to creep down towards 0. As soon as it does, you got to start worrying. You start hearing footsteps behind you, Tannen.
And they're big, heavy footsteps,
They're
too.
glacial footsteps. And 3 copies of red glacial footsteps in this deck, as well as 3 copies of blue.
I think there's one in his hand, by the way.
Yeah, either one of those cards could just end the game in a flash. So.
Very good 2-card hand from Jacob there the last turn, providing a ton of ways to slow Spencer down, aggravate him just a little bit, mess with his turns. Let's see what Spencer's got. Oh, this is a good way to get back in this possibly a little bit. This is a +1 from Art of War, and I've got to believe, I was going to say, it's going to be a banish and draw 2.
Yeah, I will say a great time for disruption from Jacob, making that Art of War cost a little bit more. Also taking a card out of hand.
Spencer playing with 2 cards now in an arsenal, 1 resource floating, so he's got some options this turn. If he can get a couple attacks, he could maybe add a Phoenix Flame to his hand and attack with his weapon as well.
Yep. Blazing Hedgehog going to be the play instead. No, I got it right, Tannen. Don't look at me like that. All right, fine. Blaze Headlong.
I liked it the first time. Somebody at home, please alter this card to have the face of a hedgehog just coming at you with this flaming sword. And at Brian and I on Twitter, it's Brian Go on Twitter and the Tannen Grace. I definitely want to see somebody use their their paint skills online.
I could use some custom Blazing Hedgehogs for my deck.
I would play Blazing Hedgehog.
Looks like we're thinking about a Mask of the Pouncing Lynx activation here from Spencer. Maybe wanted to juice this hand a little bit with that Art of War ready to go. And it is time. Going to go ahead and use that Mask. Go find an attack, power 2 or less.
Now, this play from Spencer, is this because he's starting to hear those footsteps that you were alluding to?
I think so. I think as soon as your life total gets that low, you're under pressure to basically return fire. You have to be able to demand cards from Jacob. You have to threaten his life total. Otherwise, he will assemble the combo, quote unquote. Glacial Footsteps you. Find a card, reveal it, a little bit of Dominate, maybe throw a pummel on top, and that's all she wrote.
Yeah, and you got to believe after he takes this 5, Spencer's starting to think, I need to present something here. And he goes and gets a double strike, something we've seen already this game. Double strike of Art of War does a lot of really cool things here.
Yeah, a couple instances of damage.
Still has that resource floating as well. This is an Inflame.
Okay.
It's for 2. It's going to get back a Phoenix Flame.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
Spencer is doing it this turn with
getting wide, and I think the missing piece, the thing that I immediately looked for as soon as this turn started putting itself together, are there tomes in this list? It's been a while since Tome of the Firebrand has been part of this strategy, but the way that Spencer is set up, I had to start asking the question. Belittle Minnowism points me in the direction of maybe setting up a Tome of the Firebrand turn, just doing that massive 5 chain that we start at the start of the format. I don't see him. So I don't think that's what we're doing here, but still we have done an effective job of getting wide. If there is something like Assault the Wound in Arsenal, a way to actually get that resource, we could be looking at a lot of damage.
And you see Jacob counting up how much damage here. And I think he's starting to worry. You saw him sit back in his seat a little bit and realize, yeah, I took this 5, and I thought the range on this turn was a lot shorter and smaller than it actually is.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that is the fear.
And he's going to take the 2. He's down to 18.
Yeah. Now you have to be a little bit worried because you know there's one Phoenix Flame coming. There's another Phoenix Flame coming.
This one's
then there's
for
a double
3.
strike, another double strike, and things are getting a little hairy. I think the only thing that is really making him feel safe is that double strike. If it is Assault the Wound, is going to have to be invested to play the Assault the Wound. At least as far as I can tell, I don't see another option. If only Spencer is saying he had that third counter on the Feyendel Spring Tunic, could potentially do it all.
Speaking of the footsteps, here's one for a block. Here's the first double strike attacking for 2. Death by 1,000 cuts this turn.
Yeah, I think it's a really good thing that Spencer was able to claim that Glacial Footsteps. It was a red Glacial, offering 10 damage with that effect. Like we said, it can end the game in a flash. And the question is just, if you're Jacob, are you content giving your whole hand here? Are you trying to save up? Look, there was the pummel too. So Jacob may be fearing lethal on this turn. Thought he had to go ahead and invest some defensive resources here. Going to activate that Phi, get the Phoenix Flame.
Yeah, I think the blocking with the pummel really makes sense here at this point. Once you're taking this much damage, but you're still giving up cards, you're not going to find a spot to play the pummel and make any kind of forward momentum here. And this is Assault the Wound.
Okay, does have the Assault the Wound available. I'm sorry, I miscounted the cost on Assault the Wound. I was thinking of the base power of 2. The cost is, of course, 0. So this is representing 9 damage. Gotten very wide on this particular turn.
And here I think you just got to cash your hand in. Let's confirm. Maybe it's not 9.
Yeah, they're counting up right now.
Okay, it's only 7.
That's significantly
only 7.
less. Yeah. Significantly less. Looks like 4 hits and a buff from the Art of War. So Assault the Wound was available.
Block the Command and Conquer here, so it's going to soak up 3 of the 7. So you take 4 down to 10 here.
Yeah, and so as you see, if Jacob didn't block on this turn, lethal would have been presented. And that's always the question. If you're choosing to do one of those turns where you're not blocking, is lethal going to be presented? Can they go ahead and just take cards from my hand? And it looks like Jacob found good blocks on that turn, I would say. Did the right thing, and just going to go ahead and follow up with that Winner's Wail. And now this game, I talked about Spencer hearing the footsteps before. Now maybe Jacob's hearing them.
So Spencer hears a footstep. Jacob starts to feel the flames. He starts to feel the heat.
Yep. See a Belittle in hand for Spencer.
Both players' tunics on 3 here. Very important. It looks like Spencer's going to cash his in immediately. Start with a...
False start.
We call that one a balk. That's a balk.
Looks like it's going to be
Rise from the Ashes.
Yeah, Rise from the Ashes is the first play. So Phoenix Flame headed to hand.
Now the Belittle is coming out.
No pump on that. That's going to be
Right.
saved for the Draconic or Ninja attack action card that is played.
He's going to get a blue Minnowism, so this is going to be another super wide turn for Spencer here.
Yeah, pretty wide, pretty tall, too, with that Rise from the Ashes as well.
Every time I see a Belittle get played, I'm always like, oh, yeah, and it's attacking you for 3. Because it does all this other stuff. You know, it's like, oh, I'm going to get this card out of my deck, I'm going to add it to my hand, make sure my turn is really good, and oh, yeah, you have to answer the card itself. What a card.
Does feel a little unfair when it's doing its best output. I think we're looking at a Spreading Flames for 6 here.
Yeah, Minnowism has been pitched for resources. Looks like a double block here from Jacob. It's going to take no damage. These 2 resources are floating. A lot of damage still represented here from Spencer. How much more is it going to be this turn? I think we're down to the last card in Jacob's hand. Got to be a little worried here if you're Jacob. All right, Phoenix Flame coming in for, I believe, is this only 1 or is this 2?
No, this is going to be 2.
Okay. All right, looks like the resource from the Tunic is going to activate Ram's Head. That's going to block 1 of the 2.
Still 2 available. That's going to go ahead and get that Searing Ember Blade.
And this is always the worry here, too, if you're Jacob, if you're like, is this actually the last attack of this turn or not? There's still a card left over in Spencer's hand. He doesn't have resources floating, but there's still really big plays that he can make here for free.
Yeah, you worry about some kind of on-hit on the last attack. However, if you don't block here and Spencer just arsenals and you don't do anything with that last card, you really come out from behind.
That feels really, really bad. It does look like he's going to take it. Down to 6.
Falls to 6.
Here comes the Phoenix Flame out of the yard. Yep. Activate Phi. This one's going to attack for 1.
Phoenix Flame action here. This one coming in for 3. This is getting buffed by the Spreading Flames as well as the Tiger Stripe Shuko.
Forgot about the Spreading Flames. These boards are getting so complicated.
Yeah, the Spreading Flames really doing a lot to increase the damage output of Jacob's hand here, and going to fall to 3.
Jacob really liking that last card in his hand. It is a Blaze Headlong Binder.
Blazing Hedgehog coming through. Here's the 3 block, I hope.
Is this a card that doesn't block?
That is not a man who looks happy with the card in his hand.
And his 2 equipment can't stop enough here. It's still lethal, the 2 equipment.
Okay, right. Macho Grande going to fall to 1.
And we've talked about this all weekend long. This is the scariest number to be at against a deck that just runs Phoenix Flames.
Yeah, and we know Jacob not going to do anything on the turn, just going to tick up that Tunic, pass along. And Jacob on the back foot squarely now. Here's the thing for Spencer. If you can make a combat chain that is 5 links wide,
you win.
You're in a really good spot. There's some blocks available. There's the Crater Fist. There's the Vandal Spring Tunic. But as soon as you're able to take that entire hand, you're in such an advantaged position because you'll do it again on the next turn. And eventually there won't be those equipments to save you. And Phi is just a master at getting that wide.
An attack for 3 here for free from a Bramble Seneclaw. That's going to get blocked out by Thunderquake. Is that a lava? I think it's a red Lava Vein Loyalty.
Yeah, I think you're correct, Tannen. Gonna have go again. All these demanding 3 blocks. You have to pray you're not caught with those pummels in hands. I'll tell you, the damage output from Pummel, incredible. You absolutely love that card in this deck. But the times where you're trying to play a little defense and you get caught with Pummel in hand, it can be absolutely backbreaking. But it looks like it's going to be a blizzard here from Jacob.
And this needs to be timed well. This is going to take away the go again here because this is the card that doesn't block.
Yeah, you need to get this one out of hand right now. You need to hope that Spencer is not able to push this chain any wider. Ideally, if there's 2 reds in hand, won't even be able to claim that Phoenix Flame. Although I suppose you can go ahead and activate now, which would make sense. Wouldn't do any good, though. No go again. You just put it into your arsenal, maybe? I think that's what Spencer is debating right now.
And yeah, I think he's saying go ahead.
He just says that's good and going to go ahead and arsenal one of these cards instead.
That's a big win for Jacob. He's going to be able to get out of this turn with it. If you told me he's going to be able to get out of this turn, not taking damage, and have a card in his hand.
Yeah, and with both pieces of equipment, if there's some kind of salvo here from Jacob, okay, just arsenal. I think that's totally fine. Try and build up towards a lethal turn. Maybe would have preferred something like an iced up Winter's Whale, but still completely fine turn from Jacob.
Yeah, I think being able to activate your crown is pretty important here as well. Oh, that's not good. That's an energy pot from Spencer. This is a card that's not going to attack this turn.
Yeah, you know, you need resources. So if that's the 1 blue in hand, I think you can survive it as Spencer. And of course, very importantly, hits a break point, but Jacob has a key sink below at a very opportune moment.
This is huge for Jacob. Wow, this game is getting turned on its head multiple times here.
Yeah, really nice block from Jacob.
being able to block of one card, so important here. All right, Lava Vein Loyalty coming over for 3.
Yeah, we always expect Oldham to be able to find the 3 blocks when necessary. There's
Lightning Strike. Okay, that's going to block it out. Here comes a Blazing Hedgehog from Arsenal. I got you.
Thank you. Yeah, 4 represented here.
That card is officially Blazing Hedgehog now, by the way. All right, so Crown of Seeds activation is going to be here. So now we need to find a block 3.
2 more resources floating. Could still go Tunic, Crater Fist, Rampart. Some options here.
Yeah, still got the Rampart as well, so if there is a block 2 here. Got to believe you want to try to avoid using your equipment here if you can.
I think so, and I think we're looking at a Channel Lake Frigid as well as
I think it's a
Glacial Footsteps. Now, you would love to deploy that Channel Lake Frigid. The problem is you don't have an ice card to keep it around. So what I think you're doing instead is looking for a block here and hoping you get to swing an Icy Hammer on the next turn. Looking for that cold 4. However, it's not to be. It looks like it will be Searing Emberblade, and we have gotten particularly wide here.
Okay, it looks like we're going to be Phoenix Flaming first, actually.
Okay, Phoenix Flame first.
That Phoenix Flame, though, particularly that one.
Yeah, good choice.
Yeah, good choice, Spencer. Very, very tight play there.
So I expect probably commit the Rampart here.
Yep, here comes the Rampart.
Fine block. Now it's time for the Ember Blade. That is going to demand the card from hand. Not enough block value in that equipment. And just going to Arsenal and pass the turn back. But got every single card out of Jacob's hand. And what that means is he's got to face down this same Onslaught again. And remember, he had that critical sink below to be able to block 4. If he gets caught without that on this turn and the 5 puts together a similar turn, which, by the way, they're doing with a 5-card hand this time, Jacob's in big trouble here.
Now, big for Jacob here is he does have the Tunic counter here as well. So he gets a freebie kind of on the Rampart.
Big pickup. No Crown of Seeds available. Looks like Mounting Anger going to be the play. That's that key break point again. Yeah. 4 damage offered up.
Love starting out with the 4 as well. So going to go ahead and use that. Block 3, use a Rampart. This is going to soak up the 4.
Makes sense. Do not want that one to hit.
Yeah, if that one hits, obviously the game's over, but if you were to pump one of your cards this turn, I think it's going to be too much for Jacob to deal with.
I agree. Looks like Spreading Flames the play here. We saw how powerful that was on a previous turn. Again, very good at hitting those breakpoints. And there's kind of a new breakpoint at play here. There's the 2 toughness breakpoint that is defined by Crater Fist plus Feyendel Spring Tunic. If Spencer is able to cross one of those Phoenix Flames over to a 3-power attack, that could be lethal because no longer can those equipments be used to block.
I think this is going to be important this turn because I think I see a pummel in Jacob's hand, which is a block 2, which could come in to bite him.
Absolutely. I said those things on defense, they'll hurt you every time.
All right, so block 3.
Clean block. Still 1 resource left. Does have the Tunic counter available as well. Critical for getting that Searing Emberblade activation from here. Another 3. I think Spencer's just going to get too wide here, especially if that's a pummel in hand. I don't think Jacob can make it out of this turn.
Yeah, he's considering all of his blocks here. Does look like you're going to get the Channel Lake. Well. Channel Lake Frigid. Yeah, Fi activation.
Yeah, and this is going to be a well-buffed Phoenix Flame. And again, I talked about the new breakpoints. 2 represented here. That gets the pummel. Is there a follow-up? Is there the 1 damage to push through? It's Searing Emberblade, and that gets the fist bump. Crater Fist, Feyendel Spring Tunic, not good enough to defend. And we see Spencer Freeman.
Yeah.
Look, that was not the new Phi list designed